Hello, 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 and welcome to another fantastic-ish episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me first remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the use and reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is bipcot.org. We're also protected by Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969, which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything said here on Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion is entirely hypothetical.
Yeah, we really needed that rule last episode.
We didn't get too bad last episode.
It wasn't terrible, but still, like it
could have gotten a lot worse.
Oh yeah.
With those guys, it could have gotten a lot worse, and no drones came, so I think
I'm actually wearing my drone target patch this week because of last week. I'm like, man, that's gonna get me fucking killed. Like,
we are referring to our last episode with Magnus Panvidia. We had Trashman and Oldman of Big Igloo Boys, formerly of Facebook, that was deleted with what was it, like 85,000 people in the group or something like that?
Yeah, there was a lot of people on it, and just boop, suddenly it didn't exist anymore.
Yep, just ding. No.
Yep. Zucky boy does not appreciate.
I got hit with a spam one today and had to change my password because I shared an image of how octopuses have sex.
Seriously?
Yes.
What?
It wasn't graphic either. It was an infographic. It was clean. Everything was laid out. They had it had labels and everything. And Facebook hit me with a spam knock, and I had to change my password.
That's really dumb.
Which is fucking stupid. Fucking stupid.
Like, what?
It was educational, damn it.
Yeah, who's spamming people with octopus sex? All right, like, okay, you know what? No, those words come out of my mouth, I know the kinds of people.
We don't talk about that part of Facebook.
Yeah, as soon as I said it, I'm like, oh no, I know exactly who's doing that.
That's the Facebook Tumblr crossover.
Yeah, that nope. We try not to talk about weebs as much as possible. We're just gonna.
I don't have anywhere to go with that.
As soon as the words left my mouth, I'm like, you know who's doing that.
Bastards.
So,
do you want to just jump into this, or
yeah, where are we starting?
Anything else you want to bring up?
Not really. I mean, my head's kind of already in the woods. Like, I leave Sunday, so we're recording this Friday, so I leave in 2 days, and early in the morning Sunday, it's like a 4.5 hour drive to where I'm going, and I will be so in the middle of nowhere, it's glorious. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm already kind of there. So I don't know where you want to start.
Actually, we can start there. That's a good one, because I can transition from that into this one, because you're going camping. You were talking about in pre-show, you're talking about your cast iron skillets and your preps a little bit. We had just a quick little thing about that, and I have an article here that has been it's originally from 2013, right? But it has been making the rounds again on the prepper forums and on the prepper circuits, because of the domestic terrorism talk that they're pushing and all this other stuff. So
everybody is a domestic fucking terrorist now. Everybody.
Just about according to this list. But as I said, this list is originally from 2013. It was put out by, I think it was Judicial Watch. They did a Freedom of Information Act, and they published this on Scribe, and it was 72 types of Americans that are considered, quote, potential terrorists in official government documents. Yeah.
Yeah, and they start out listing conservatives, libertarians, Christians, gun owners, people who oppose abortion, globalism, communism, illegal immigration, the United Nations, the New World Order, people who believe in conspiracy theories or think we're living in the end times. So basically, anyone who's not a hardcore shitlib is in fact a terrorist, according to them.
Yes. We can go down the list. All right. So number one is those who talk about quote individual liberties.
I don't know any people like that.
If I had any sort of video editing skills, I would put a counter in the corner.
Bing.
Bing. Those who advocate for states' rights. Bing. Those who want to quote make the world a better place.
What the?
Ding.
That makes you a what?
Quote
what?
the colonialists who sought to free themselves from British rule. 5. Those who are interested in quote defeating the communists.
What?
6. Those who believe quote that the interest of one's own nation are separate from the interest of other nations or the common interest of all nations.
Nationalists. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, okay, so that's 5. We're on. That was 6. 6 is not ours. So 7. Quote anyone that holds a quote political ideology that considers a state to be unnecessary, harmful, or undesirable.
Ding. Okay.
8. Anyone that possesses an intolerance toward other religions.
Yeah, I can see that. Although I'm sure they don't define religion quite the way we do, because and statists are really that's a religion, and they are certainly intolerant of anyone with any other belief system.
Number 9, those that quote take action to fight against the exploitation of environment and or animals.
Oh boy.
10 anti-gay, 11 anti-immigrant, 12 anti-Muslim, 13 the Patriot Movement.
This is basically everybody on the political right in America. I mean, everybody on the political right at this
14 point. Opposition to the equal rights for gays and lesbians.
Gays and lesbians? Yes. Gays and leviathans. It's
Yeah.
I mean
15 members of the Family Research Council. 16 members of the American Family Association.
That sounds like a very dangerous person. A member of the American Family Association.
Both trad kind of things.
Yeah, well, I mean they're neocon organizations, right? Like this whole list so far is like very much like, so basically if you're a neocon or a conservative or you're any kind of a very pro-liberty person at all,
yep,
you're all potential terrorists, every single one of you.
17, those that believe that Mexico, Canada, and the United States, quote, are secretly planning to merge into a European Union-like entity that will be known as the North American Union.
Is there somebody who believes that? I mean, are there people that believe that? Like,
well, if you drink the right water.
That seems just so remarkably like improbable.
Well, there were a lot of calls about this when Obama was negotiating the NAFTA or renegotiating the NAFTA.
Okay. I mean, still though, like,
I mean, come on, there's still people that are still convinced that Obama was the Antichrist or is the Antichrist.
Yeah,
so.
they're wrong.
Let's see. Members of the American Border Patrol or the American Patrol. Like those are both militant Patriot border control people.
Yeah, the Minutemen or whatever, the guys who independently patrol the border because they're completely insane. Okay.
Members of the Federation for American Immigration Reform.
Yeah, I mean, that's neocon as hell too.
Yeah.
Um,
Here's one. Members of the Tennessee Freedom Coalition.
how dare you want freedom?
They're it's a Minuteman militia group.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like what I'm seeing, like I said, like this is all like neocons and like hyper conservatives and nationalists and
No, hold that. It gets worse. It's so much worse. Members of the Christian Action Network. All right, conservative Christian group.
And not only is it a conservative Christian group, but like as far as I have ever seen, the most that they ever do is they carry signs. I mean,
and hold protests.
Yeah, they hold like pro life protests. That's kind of what they do. That's kind of it.
22. Anyone that is quote opposed to the New World Order.
Now, I'm not Alex Jones, but I am going to say that if you have on your government list people who may potentially need to be viewed as terrorists, people who oppose the NWO, I'm going to say that might lend a little credence to the idea that people are pushing for an NWO.
23. Anyone that is engaged in conspiracy theorizing.
And there we go again. That's
ding.
Yeah. Like, are you kidding? What? How dare you say that's conspiracy? Well, it fucking is a conspiracy. There's.
Yep. 24. Anyone that is opposed to Agenda 21.
Jesus.
I mean, I don't understand why anybody would not want to be a part of Agenda 21 and their population control and their whole Great Reset and you not being able to own personal property and I don't know. Anyone would not want to be part of that.
Who wouldn't want to be herded into camps? And I mean, it's.
Speaking of that, 25. Anyone that is concerned about camps.
Well, what do you know? It looks like I'm on that list now. If I wasn't before.
Ding.
Ding.
Anyone that quote fears impending gun control or weapons confiscations.
You are talking constantly about weapons confiscation and enacting more so you're saying that anybody who doesn't just go, oh, that's fine, potential terrorist.
27. The militia movement.
Which well,
I'm not wearing a patch that has anything to do with that at all.
Well, damn it.
Ding.
Ding.
The sovereign citizen movement.
All
they want to do is be left alone.
Yeah, well, and the funny thing is too is like calling the sovereign citizens potential terrorists is kind of hilarious because the hardcore sovereign citizens, right? Like we've all met a few of them.
Yeah.
They are not the least terroristic people I've ever met in my life. Like they're not going to do anything.
Leave them alone, and they're fine.
They're just like, no, I deserve to be left alone. Like Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. 29. Those that quote don't think they should have to pay taxes.
So the founding fathers of the United States. Yeah. Okay.
30. Anyone that quote complains about bias, such as the bias of this entire list.
Yeah, but that's like a super generic, like anyone that complains about bias. So technically, like 3/4 of the American political left is also now on the list because they also complain about bias.
Oh yeah. Here's let's see, 31. Anyone that quote believes in government conspiracies to the point of paranoia.
But it's not paranoia if they really are out to get you. So I'm just saying.
Yes, I mean, but that could be construed as the entire QAnon movement.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, that's just the
there's
QAnon,
what 75 million people.
Yeah, not even just the QAnon, but like all of the people, who are all like talking about, the election fraud and everything else for the 2020 elections. They're all immediately on there for that.
Yep. Yep. Here, 32. Anyone that is, quote, frustrated with mainstream ideologies. Meaning, if you're not part of the status quo, you are a potential terrorist.
It looks like you've had a little too much to think. Afraid you might be a terrorist. You're gonna have to come with me. Like, frustrated with mainstream ideologies. So unless you are a mindless sheep who's staring at the TV watching, I don't even know what's on TV anyway. American Idol, is that still on? I don't know.
I don't know.
Whatever. Anyway, if you're not one of those people, right, keeping up with the Kardashian, I have no idea. This is how long it's been since I've watched television.
Okay.
Just
33. Anyone that visits extremist websites or blogs. I'm gonna add podcasts to this.
Yeah. So if you're
Also,
listening to this, you're on a list. I'm
30,
wearing a deterrence dispense T-shirt as that gets read.
34. Anyone that establishes websites or blogs to display extremist views.
Oh, we're
I'm
fucked.
adding a podcast to that one also.
We're so fucked.
35. Anyone that attends rallies for extremist causes.
Extremists.
I mean, it's.
On an entirely unrelated note, I still regret not getting to go to MPLF this year, but I am looking forward to camping still. But yeah, it's if you so what they're saying, like you go to MPLF, Magnus right now is down at Revolution 2021.
Yeah.
And if you go to that, that's going to be considered.
Dude, I watched a video from Yao, like right before we got on, and I seriously got goosebumps. They had Tom Woods up there on stage, and he was introducing Ron Paul. Ron Paul was going to come on, do a video chat, a video speech. And Ron Paul comes on the big screen, and he's like, "Hey, how you guys doing?" He's like 2 minutes into his little speech, and everything goes black. And the crowd's like, "What the fuck?" And they start chanting, "Ron Paul, Ron Paul, Ron Paul," right? And the lights come on in the very, very back of the stage. Poof. And out walks Ron Paul.
Nice.
Oh my god, goosebumps.
He's responsible for a lot of us starting to get into libertarianism and anarchism and
he's a potential domestic terrorist, you guys.
Yeah, he's apparently very much a potential domestic terrorist. And I mean, just going there, just attending these rallies labels you a potential domestic terrorist, which then allows them under the National Security Act to proceed to monitor you.
And under the NDAA to throw you in a black cell.
Yeah, if they decide that they need to, they totally can, and they can go do it under the guise of national security.
Yep, without a trial, without letting anyone know.
Yeah, for as long as they want.
So, yep, waterboarding is not fun. But speaking of attends rallies for extremist causes, and Magnus, inthedamnwars.org. That is the website for the 9/11 rally in Washington, D.C. for the 20th anniversary. Yes, go look at it. Let's see, where was I? 36. Anyone that exhibits extreme religious intolerance. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but extreme religious intolerance. So like atheists who like freak out over any Christian expressing any religious view at all.
Yeah.
I mean, like that automatically makes you a potential terrorist. Any Muslim who complains about Jews, any Christian who complains about anything
would being like against Israel count on that one?
They would probably use it. Yeah. I mean, I have no doubt they would try and use that one immediately because they would call Zionism a religious view.
Yep. All right, here's one for you. This is Andrew written all over it. 37. Anyone that is, quote, personally connected with a grievance.
The fuck does that even mean?
Anyone that is personally connected with a grievance. I mean, if you have any grievance against the United States at all, or government at all, and you're connected to that person, you're a potential domestic terrorist.
So if you're complaining like, hey, they shouldn't have shot that person that I knew,
Yes.
then, oh, potential terrorist.
Like all the Black Lives Matter protesters.
Yeah, every single one of them now.
Speaking of last year, 38. Anyone that, quote, suddenly acquires weapons.
30. What was the number? There's 38 million gun sales in the past 12 months.
Was it 39% of U.S. households have a firearm now? Or something like that?
Yeah, and it was something like 38 million new gun sales in the past year, which means that basically there were more gun sales than there were people in the United States in the past year. And like 16 million, is that the number that I saw? Like 16 million new gun owners?
23.
23 million.
Like 23.4, 23.5, I think, something like that.
So that means, yeah, but 23.5 million new gun owners means that there is now, it's got to be only 30% that don't own firearms, because there's only,
yeah, probably.
I mean, there's only so many people in the United States.
And again, those are just known firearms, not including 3D printed and, person to person sales and black markets and gifts. And
I mean, what's the population of the United States? It's only
according to Biden, it's 350. Because he said 350 million Americans have been vaccinated, but it's actually like 331.
I say it's only like 300, like 331 or something, 0.7 million. Yeah. So figure, and of that, 23 million new gun owners in the past 12 months.
New gun owners.
Yeah, this isn't people who already had guns. This is new guns. I mean, it is. Oh my God.
Yeah.
There are far more guns in the United States than there are people in the United States, and oh my God,
isn't 23 million more than the collected total of the world's military or something like that? Right, because the U.S. military is the world's largest military, right? But it's only like, what is it, like 3.5 million people or something?
Well, it's not the world's largest military. It's certainly the world's most powerful because of the force multiplication. But there are larger militaries out there. I think China's is bigger. Total number of military personnel in the world, estimated 20.5 million.
So, okay, there you go. More than the collective world's total military population.
In the past 12 months, new gun owners in the United States. I mean, that is insane. If we look, so China's military is roughly, what's that column? Total. Okay. Is roughly just under, we'll say 3.4 million.
Okay.
For China. So 3.4 million personnel, and that's not combat personnel, obviously. There's a lot more support personnel than there are combat personnel.
What is it? It's like 5-1 or 7-1 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it varies depending on how things are set up, but yeah, something. I mean, in general, the United States has 2.23 million.
Okay.
Vietnam, my God, really? That's just got to be everybody in the fucking country. Well, no, I mean, not actually, but Jesus Christ. If you count reserve and everything else for Vietnam, it in fact has the largest military in the world. At a total, because it has over 5 million reservists and 5 million support personnel, leaving it with a total of 10.5 million men under arms, if necessary. Gosh, I can't imagine why the United States hasn't tried to go back and win.
Let's see, where was I? Southern Choir's weapons. 39. Anyone that, quote, organizes protests inspired by extremist ideology.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
I have no idea. I've never talked to anybody that would do that.
Mm-hmm.
40, militia or unorganized militia.
Unorganized militia.
Yeah, so this is 2013. If this was an updated list, they would include Boog and NFC and John Brown Gun Club and all those other stuff in there too.
Yeah, what the fuck is an unorganized militia? Like a number of these, I'm like, would you define that?
Like the very next one, number 41, general right-wing extremist.
Oh, well. When you just say, like, if you,
I feel like I'm at the spelling bee. Can I get the country of origin, please?
Yeah, like, are you? Like, I mean,
can you use it in a sentence?
If you are making a list, if your government is making a list of potential terrorists, and one of the items on that list is just anybody on this side of the political spectrum, it might be time to start to question some things. Just say.
42. Citizens that have bumper stickers that are patriotic or anti-UN.
Potential terrorist for a fucking bumper sticker. All right. That's
let's see, 43. Those that refer to a, quote, army of God.
That's literally a thing that's mentioned in the Bible, people. Yes. That's a thing mentioned in the Bible.
Well, yeah, they had to work in, Christians in here somewhere.
Yeah, Jesus.
44. Those that are fiercely nationalistic as opposed to universal or international in orientation. Right, so there's your Proud Boys.
Yep, Proud Boys, basically any MAGA hat wearing person at all.
Yep. 45, those that are anti-global. Here you go. You want to read that next one?
Those that are suspicious of centralized federal authority.
Like 47, those that are reverent of individual liberty.
And those that believe in conspiracy theories. Oh man, weird. Oh.
Those
feel
that,
like there's
quote,
a spotlight shining.
Those that have, quote, a belief that one's personal and or national way of life is under attack.
Of course your personal way of life. Jesus Christ. Oh, God, those that possess a belief in the need to be prepared for an attack, either by participating in paramilitary preparations and training or survivalism.
Oh my God. Like, just ding, 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 ding.
I'm like looking at all my camping shit and just like,
Government's playing whack-a-mole with Jason and Andrew right now.
Yeah.
Let's see, where was I at?
51's the next one.
Yeah, those that would, quote, impose strict religious tenets or laws on society, fundamentalists. Which, come on now, like, I can understand that, but if you bring into things like abortion bombings and whatever, but I can at least in my own mind justify that one.
Yeah, but and what annoys me about that one is
I don't agree with it, but I can at least justify it from that perspective.
Yeah, what annoys me is like, though, with that one is it's like, yeah, there's still this huge move to like not label extremist crazy like Muslims as terrorists anymore, and not label like militant atheists who have done bombings and things as well and shot up churches and everything as potential terrorists anymore. Like, there's this push for that, yet the way this is worded is pretty clearly to try and lean on the Christian right specifically And I know plenty of people on the Christian right, and I don't know much of any of them that want a theocracy.
No.
So
No, like the whole Redoubt region exists because they don't want to impose it and they just want to be left alone. Right?
yeah,
I mean Randy and Vicky Weaver, right? They moved to like the Idaho Panhandle to get away from the federal government so that they could practice their religion and their beliefs without the interference from federal government.
yeah, I mean that's all they were after.
Yep.
And like this is the kind of list that then leads somebody to call Lon Horiuchi to come blow your wife's head off.
Yep. Anniversary that's coming up, by the way, on the 21st.
Real fast.
Not of Vicky dying, but of Samuel being murdered.
Yeah, the beginnings of it.
Yeah. Let's see. 52. Those that would quote insert religion into the political sphere.
Well, dude, religion.
The House has a prayer every single day before they start business.
The 10 Commandments are on the doors of the Supreme Court.
Yes. Anyone that would quote seek to politicize religion.
Again, if your religion is guiding your life, like if that is truly what you believe, it's going to
Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah, the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Yep.
Oh, hey.
Okay, 54. Those that have quote supported political movements for autonomy. Every libertarian's on this list.
Yeah.
Every constitutionalist is on this list.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who is anti like absolute authoritarianism technically falls under that.
Yep. Anyone that is anti-abortion. 56. Anyone that is anti-Catholic.
That one throws me for a little bit of a loop.
Yeah. 57. Anyone that is anti-nuclear.
Isn't it like most of the political left because they don't understand nuclear power, or are they talking about nuclear weapons?
I would say nuclear technology. Period.
Yeah, so like the political left because they don't understand how nuclear power works. Yeah, they would fall under that. I actually, you know what I realized with the anti-Catholic, it's because the KKK hates Catholics.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is because they're still trying to target the hyper nationalist, white nationalist, and it's they're specifically targeting the KKK with that one. I think
they would fall under number 58, which is right-wing extremists.
Didn't they just have like a right-wing extremist one? I thought there was just something about a right-wing extremist. Yeah, general right-wing extremist.
Maybe this one's more
specifically.
These all have links to pages on the Scribe, so I'm sure there's broader definitions of them. 59. Returning veterans.
Ding. Ding. Great big ding.
Those concerned about illegal immigration.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is just like this is completely blowing off everyone who historically has actually set off bombs and things in the United States and is focusing pretty hard on right wing.
61. Those that believe in the right to bear arms. 62. Anyone that is engaged in ammunition stockpiling. 63. Anyone that exhibits fear of fear of communist regimes.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
64. Anti-abortion activist. As I said, the abortion bombings and things like that. 65. Those that are against illegal immigration.
How many times are they going to bring up people who don't like illegal immigration? Like, it seems like they're really harping on this pretty hard. Like, no, you cannot oppose illegal immigration. No, terrorists, all of you.
66. Those that talk about the New World Order in a derogatory manner. Those that have negative views of the United Nations.
I need a tinfoil hat.
Those that are opposed to the collection of federal income taxes.
What? Oh, this next one is wonderful.
Those that supported former presidential candidate Ron Paul, Chuck Baldwin, and Bob Barr.
Oh, this next one. It's too bad Chris isn't on here for this one.
70, those that display the Gadsden flag. That's the don't tread on me flag for those not paying attention at home. 71, those that believe in end times prophecies.
If you have ever read the prophecies in the Bible of the end times and looked around at the world around you,
If you've ever shared a Revelations quote, you're a domestic terrorist.
Yeah.
72, evangelical Christians.
So basically Christians who then go out and try and preach to other people.
Yeah.
This is like entirely like focused on the political right is all terrorists, all of them. And that goes right along with the narrative that's happening right now again, where they're talking about they keep trying to label the Boog movement as right-wing extremism, which is a lot of horseshit. There's very little politically right-wing about the movement at all. But like this is like so focused on, like they keep talking about how domestic terrorism is the greatest threat to the country, and it's domestic terror, which is funny because like you saw today, right, that Joe Biden said that was bringing up again the January 6th the riots.
The spicy unplanned tour.
Yes, the unplanned tour. He was bringing that up, and he was really trying to like talk about it and make it seem like it was really, really bad again. And he was again invoking like the American Civil War and how it wasn't even breached during that and blah, blah, blah.
Wasn't it burnt down in 1812?
It was burnt down in the War of 1812, which America started, but it was burned down in the War of 1812. But more recently, let me go through a list here, because according to Biden and according to the American political left, the January 6th unplanned tour of the Capitol building was the worst thing that has ever happened in the Capitol since the American Civil War.
I'm sorry. I can't take this seriously.
And so I would like to counter that point with a few things. For instance, in July of 1915, a disgruntled Harvard German professor, angry over World War I, set off a bomb in the Senate reception room. No one was hurt, but it did cause a lot of damage. My personal favorite to counter that with is 1954. So 1954, there was this huge Puerto Rican nationalist movement. And as a result of that, 4 men went into the upper viewing gallery of the Senate chambers while Congress was in session, and proceeded to open fire on Congress with automatic weapons. 5 senators were injured. No one died, but there was a number of them severely injured. There was a number of aides who were injured. They wound up in a big shootout with Capitol Police. But no. The tour was the worst thing that's ever happened in the Capitol. November of 1983, a radical communist organization detonated a bomb outside of the Senate chambers. Again, no one was killed. It caused like $300,000 worth of damage. Back in March of 71, Weather Underground, their bombing in the Senate restroom. Again, something like $300,000 worth of damage.
That's Sal Ansky.
Yeah, that was also the Capitol, and it was a bomb. July 1998, Russell Eugene Weston Jr., who entered the Capitol with a gun, opened fire, killed 2 people. He actually killed a pair of Capitol police officers that attempted to return the fire. And then all of that happened. So you have 3 bombings, 4 bombings, 2 shootings, and the unplanned tour of the Capitol.
Spicy unplanned tour in which Pelosi got her podium taken.
That dude in the little beanie hat and his mittens with the over his shoulder. It's so great. He's just smiling at the camera like, haha. But that is what is making Capitol Police sob, and Biden going, it's the worst thing to happen in the Capitol since, well, you know the thing. That's No.
Such the thing.
Yeah, it's like no, because like people have literally been shot in the Senate chambers and like bombs have gone off and well, I are you aware of any of it? I mean, I'm sure he doesn't remember anything because he can't remember what his name is half the time, but still like all of these people pushing on the progressives pushing this that how January 6th was so terrible. Again, a bunch of people set off bombs and opened fire in the Capitol. The Capitol has been burned. There was serious fear during the Civil War because it could legitimately have just had very large mortar shells lobbed at it from the Confederacy. Because there's just, the river is all that separates Virginia and DC. That's it. That's There are points in DC where you can see Arlington from, and Arlington is in Virginia. So that's actually Robert E. Lee's house.
Yeah, but if you're interested in reading that list for yourself, we have all the articles that we covered linked in the description below. You can, I don't know if Anchor allows those, but you can find them on the YouTube or message one of us on Twitter or Instagram, and I'll drop the link to you.
Yeah, that's so you can read about how you're a domestic terrorist.
Yep. Speaking of potential domestic terrorists and Joe Biden, 9/11 families to protest Biden. Don't come to our memorial events.
Yeah, because they wanted truth, and he's basically telling them, bite me.
Yeah, nearly 1,800 Americans directly affected by the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks are opposing President Joe Biden's participation in any memorial events this year unless he upholds his pledge to declassify U.S. government evidence that they believe may show a link between Saudi Arabian leaders and the attacks.
We have just might.
If I remember right, it's like 17 of the 21 had Saudi passports or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say the vast majority were Saudis. The largest monetary sponsor of terrorism in the world is the Sauds. So, I mean, in Saudi Arabia, they may be a very close ally of the United States, but they're also one of the most radically fundamentalist Muslim countries in the world. They stone people and throw them off of buildings and stuff for being gay. They murder women for things like showing too much skin and adultery.
Sorry, 15 of the 19.
Okay, 15 on it. Yeah, so it's still the vast majority.
Yeah, 15 from Saudi Arabia, 2 from UAE, 1 from Egypt, and 1 from Lebanon.
And yet, how many of those countries have we invaded?
Egypt. Well, technically, U.S. didn't invade Egypt. Technically, the CIA or the DOD or whatever gave support to Al Qaeda, and Al Qaeda went in and removed Gaddafi. What's that? Can't hear you.
Gaddafi was in Egypt.
No, Mubarak.
Yeah, I think it was Mubarak. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying Gaddafi was.
Yeah, Mubarak was what do they call that? The something summer.
Arab Spring.
Arab Spring. Yeah.
Yep, that was the Arab Spring. There was popular uprisings across the Middle East that made a lot of people real nervous, because it altered the political landscape of the Middle East overnight. And it's also, the Arab Spring is cool to study too, because most of it was fomented through social media and encrypted messaging apps. And so
yeah, that's right. That's when they really got on the on WhatsApp. And
yep. And right after that is when Apple grabbed WhatsApp and then gave a backdoor to the CIA. It was after that, because all of a sudden it was like, oh crap, like if that happens in the US, they will have an encrypted messaging app service.
Yep. The article says the victims' family members, first responders, and survivors will release a statement Friday calling on Biden to skip the 20th anniversary events in New York and Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and at the Pentagon unless he releases the documents which they believe implement or implicate Saudi officials in supporting the acts of terrorism. The group says that as a candidate, Biden pledged to be more transparent and release as much information as possible, but that his administration has since then ignored their letters and requests.
That is rich. You made a campaign promise, and you think that a presidential candidate is going to live up to campaign promises?
Stand in line. Quote, we cannot, in good faith and with veneration to the lost, sick, and injured, welcome the president to our hallowed grounds until he fulfills his commitment, they wrote in a statement obtained by NBC News. Quote, since the conclusion of the 9/11 Commission in 2004, much investigative evidence has been uncovered implicating Saudi government officials in supporting the attacks. Through multiple administrations, the Department of Justice and the FBI have actively sought to keep this information secret and prevent the American people from learning the full truths about the 9/11 attacks.
I am shocked. Shocked.
Totally shocked. Absolutely shocked.
I can't imagine why they might not want the American people to know the full truth.
Ask Donald Rumsfeld.
Yeah.
Among the documents, we're gonna get fucking drone now.
Yeah, it's all I can think. Those like laughs in Henry Kissinger.
Among the documents the group seeks are supporting evidence found during a widespread FBI investigation into the attacks that examined alleged Saudi links and was completed in 2016. Brent Eagleson, whose father Bruce died at the World Trade Center, said he and his co-signers, quote, collectively are at our wits' end with our government.
Good.
We are frustrated, tired, and saddened with the fact that the U.S. government for 20 years has chosen to keep information about the death of our loved ones behind lock and key. Yeah.
I love that it mentions that the 9/11 Commission found that Saudi Arabia had been a problematic ally, particularly when it came to sharing intelligence. Oh, the problematic ally, the largest monetary sponsor.
The investigation found no evidence implicating Saudi leaders in the attack.
Yeah, it's Saudi government.
It doesn't say no. It doesn't say no Saudis. Doesn't say anything else. It just says Saudi leaders in the attack.
Yeah, however, a lack of awareness of the problem and a failure to conduct oversight over institutions created an environment in which such activity has flourished. So what you're saying is that the people responsible for preventing that environment didn't.
Well, yeah. However, it did identify Saudi nationals as a major source of funding for Al-Qaeda. The Saudi government has denied any connection to the attacks.
If you're unaware of how rich the Saudis were in 2001, imagine a nation where 1 out of every 5 people is basically a Jeff Bezos.
Yes. I mean, I think we've all seen the GIFs and the videos on YouTube and TikTok of Lamborghinis and Ferraris and these just badass fucking sports cars sitting on the side of the road covered in dust.
Yep, they abandoned them.
And it's because these people have so much fucking money that if their car runs out of gas or has a problem, they just abandon it and get a new car.
Yeah, it's cheaper because it's so expensive to import all of the parts and everything else and go through that whole process and to get it towed.
It's not worth their trouble.
Yeah, it's just cheaper to abandon the car and go get a new one. There's the abandoned Enzo in I think that's in Qatar actually is where the abandoned Enzo is, but there's an abandoned Enzo. There's photos of entire garages full of sand covered like Bugattis and Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Porsches and a couple of Maybachs and um I mean all these just absurdly high-end rare cars that they just I paid 1.2 mil. It's like not like
Yeah,
it was
I
anything
I
much.
only paid 1.2 mil.
Yeah, so it's not like it was anything much, you know. It's uh contrary to popular belief, no one in the Middle East has a Lykan Hypersport. That car is entirely fictitious. It was made up for the movie. Stop Googling it, you idiots. Um,
There's a lot of
that's,
Toyota Helixes though.
there's, you know what's well, yeah, there are a lot of Hiluxes. You know what's funny though is the if you ever drive through like Dubai, the UAE, the cops all have super high ends, fucking supercars too. Like you'll see Lamborghini cop cars driving by, and it's just nuts, man. It is nuts. But that's the same thing. Like they have so much money in the UAE, and the Saudi government now is getting close to being actually broke. But in 2001 they very much had an enormous amount of money, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions
I
and
mean, you
millions of
got. I mean,
dollars.
this is back before the whole electronic vehicle movement and Tesla movement and like solar panels still really weren't a thing. So everything was dependent on petroleum.
Well, not only that, but they hadn't had any issues with shipping any oil or anything
Uh-huh.
because Hussein's still in power,
Yep.
just to their north, you know, and you have Syria's still stable and Lebanon's good, and all of this stuff is still stable at the time because it's September 11th when it starts to get unstable.
Yep.
And there's a burst there right after it happened when no one knew where the US was going, but they all knew they weren't going into Saudi Arabia, that oil prices skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So
Um,
just
let's see. The spokesman noted that Biden has vowed to ask the Justice Department to resolve issues related to the former administration's invocation of the state secrets privilege, specifically that it be, quote, narrowly tailored and not undertaken to, quote, prevent embarrassment to a person or organization. Quote, we look forward to having more to share in the coming days about actions we are taking to ensure greater transparency under the law.
oh yes, greater transparency. Isn't that exactly what Biden was talking about when he was campaigning? These completely ignored was also that he kept lending lip service to transparency and then
Well,
nothing.
I mean, be honest, Biden probably can't spell transparency at this point.
He's Kenny Biden doesn't remember what year he's in 3/4 of the time at this point.
I mean, he's at 110% of the, or what is it, like 107% of the U.S. population is vaccinated. So
Yeah, wasn't that the goal? Is 100%? According to him, we hit that. So
we hit
lockdowns are over, right?
we hit 107%. We're super
Yeah,
vaccinated.
yeah.
Like
So I feel
there's
like
people out there with like 7 doses in their arm.
and you got another one.
You know, it's funny because I was flipping channels last night. I watched the South Park one where Cartman's not vaccinated and they're trying to vaccinate him and they inject his mom instead, and she ends up artistic. The last scene of the episode is her doing a painting, and she's like, "Hello, Cartman." It's fucking weird.
uh, I love the one thing on here the affidavit that was filed by former FBI agent Stephen Moore. So, based on evidence we gathered during the course of our investigation, I concluded the diplomatic and intelligence personnel of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia knowingly provided material support to the two 9/11 hijackers and facilitated the 9/11 plot. My colleagues in our investigation shared that conclusion. And he filed that in 2017.
Yeah.
And nothing has happened. No one has done anything. And it's because if you reveal that the Saudis were involved, you also reveal that the CIA was involved. And once you do that, then the dominoes begin to fall. And George W. Bush is going, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you broke the story? Let's go hunting with Cheney.
Yeah, let me introduce you to my good friend Dick over here.
Wear the orange vest. It'll help you.
I love that of all the people that he shot, it was the one lawyer who actually liked him. You know, it's... If you're too young to know what we're talking about, Google that, kids.
Oh. If you're too young to know what we're talking about, just
ask your parents.
Go change your diaper.
Yeah, ask your parents. They'll explain it to you. It was funny.
Boy with special needs hospitalized after being bitten by a police dog. I don't know if you saw this article or not.
I did not, but that doesn't surprise me at all.
There's Christopher just messaged me, said he wasn't going to make it on, so we're just moving on. But he pointed out, like, I posted the article to the group, and I was like, oh, this is fucked, and blah, blah, blah. And then Christopher pointed out this little nugget that we're going to discuss in the second paragraph here.
Where they were?
Yeah.
Yeah.
South Pasadena, California. It says a boy with special needs was hospitalized after reportedly bit by a police dog in South Pasadena Tuesday night. The young boy was attacked by the police dog during the South Pasadena's National Night Out at Orange Grove Park around 8 p.m. The event was designed to improve police-community relations, according to the South Pasadena Police Department.
Ah, that is ironic as fuck.
It took the strength of the boy's father and the canine officer to pull the dog off the boy. Shortly after, he was heard screaming inside an ambulance as he was treated by paramedics. He was taken to a local hospital where he was treated and released. And then the family shared some pictures, which even the news had to blurt out. Yeah, I think that community event backfired just a little bit.
Oh, at least it went well.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing, is you got to remember, like, these police dogs are trained to attack people. Mm-hmm. That is what they do. That is all they are for. They are not nice dogs. They are trained and abused to be aggressive, be nasty. There's a reason why the canine unit vehicles have, a stay back on the windows and stuff, because they can bite you. And if they do, they're mostly German Shepherds who have the strongest bite of any dog in the world. If they bite you, they will do damage.
Yes, and they're not trying to just bite. They're trying to bite and aggressively immobilize you to control you.
Yeah, and yet these dogs can attack people and go nuts and tear people's arms off and everything else. But if you defend yourself from that dog, you get charged as if you attacked a cop.
Yes. There was one the other day about a dog grabbed onto a dude and held on for like 8 minutes. Jesus. The dude it told, like, the guy was sitting he just happened to be a passenger in the car, and the cops were like, give me your ID, and he's like, fuck you, I don't have to give you my ID, and the cop's like, okay, and he said he signaled, and the dog came out of the car and bit the fuck out of homie.
That won the dog. If I have a police dog attacking me, I'm shooting the fucking dog. Like, there's not even hesitation there.
I'm not even gonna in Minecraft that one.
That's just plain. If you send your dog to attack me and your dog is attacking me, I don't fucking care who you are. I'm shooting the dog in the head.
We're gonna have to add that to, like, number 73 on the potential terrorist list.
But I mean, like, I have every right to defend myself from an aggressive animal. I don't fucking care whose aggressive animal it is. I have every right to defend myself against that aggressive animal.
Yep.
Yours isn't special, pig.
Oh, God. Guantanamo is going to be so much fun.
Yes.
All my friends are going to be there. It's going to be you and me and Magnus and Trash and Luau King.
Oh. I wonder if they have origami classes there. I hope they have origami classes.
Oh. I'm calling Top Lock already.
Oh, we got to try and develop some sort of like bootleg tie dye so we can make our uniforms in the FEMA camps special.
They used to use fruit as dye, so I'm sure we could.
Yeah,
Blueberries, beets.
Yeah, we could probably do that. And you just use urine to set the dye. So I mean, we got plenty of that. Just got to piss on it. So boom. And I know how to make toilet wine, so I feel like we're way ahead of the curve here.
Oh God. The founders of this podcast do not condone. Oh.
And bonus, if you ferment it long enough, it turns into pure enough alcohol it burns. So just saying.
Potential terrorist list number 74.
Hey man, I'm wearing my stay clear probable drone target patch on my hat.
Let's see. What do I have I can grab right now? There you go. Rebel scum.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. All right. So let's move on.
It's like that meme that goes around with the after the boog I'm going to do this. After the boog I'm going to do this. Wait a minute, you guys are planning on surviving?
That's a good one.
Because well, did you see? I mean, all of the reactions to my welcome to the boog meme.
Jesus, yours went so fucking dark. Like all the trashmans were like, they had a hint of reality. I mean, yours has a hint of reality too, but trashmans were all like it's not going to be pretty. Like this is the reality. Get used to this idea. And you're just used like trashmans was like a 3 or a 4. You went to like 9.95.
It's just, I warned him too when I went to make them. I'm like, these are going to be so fucking dark. And like, there's the one, if you haven't seen them, there's one where it's just this burning house with like these burning cars outside, and this guy's like sobbing in front of it. And it's about how you escaped the drones, but when you got home, there was no home, there was no family. The drones got there first.
Welcome to the boog.
Welcome to the boog. And then the other one, they say write what you know. And I've been this guy, so I completely know what this feels like with, you don't remember the last time that you ate food that wasn't either like an MRE or dehydrated or canned. All water tastes like iodine now because you've had to use iodine purification so much that all of your joints hurt all the time. You basically can't sleep, but when you can, it's nothing but nightmares. And you just wonder why they can't just stop fighting you, why they couldn't just stop before fighting was necessary. You're going to keep going, but your soul is so tired.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to the...
Oh
yeah. Jason.
I think that might qualify on the list of extremist material.
Yeah, well, but I mean, the reason that I did that, and I told Trash before I did it, like, dude, I'm gonna go real dark because you really want to give people an honest perspective of what that's gonna be like. I will give you an honest perspective of what that's like.
That's the thing. Like we talk about the red pill, white pill, black pill, blue pill, all that. That's kind of like the thing lately. Like trashes are all red pills. They're like, this is the reality of it, and yours is like maroon.
Yeah,
like it's dark as fuck, but it's real, but it's dark as fuck.
It is dark. I went very, very dark.
It's like maroon, but there's like blood leaking from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want anybody to have any illusions. It's like the reality is it's going to be really, really nasty. And the longer it goes, the worse it's going to get. So you better be ready to be miserable and cold and in pain.
The longer it goes, the worse it will get, because those in power will get worse and worse and worse trying to hang on to their power.
Yep. The more their power slips, the more aggressive and angry they're going to get about holding on to it.
And the more aggressive and angry their supporters are going to get.
Yep. And it's only going to make things get ever worse. So like prep, like start going out into the woods, go out into the woods with minimal equipment, get used to being sore, get used to being tired and hungry and cold and wet and scared, because you know what? That's what that's going to be. A lot of it.
So, on that note, let's let's. I don't have any rainbows. All I got is black pill, black pill, black pill, black pill.
I do want to bring up the Oregon thing.
All right, let's bring up that, and then we got to talk about New Hampshire. And then if we have time, we'll talk about the farmer.
Okay, yeah, because when I read this, my eyes about bugged out of my head, and I just went, what?
I read about this when it was first proposed, when they were going after the signatures. And I think I had it in the queue for one of the episodes, and then we ran out of time.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you want to jump on it?
It's, oh my god. So Oregon ballot initiative would criminalize hunting, livestock slaughter, and even pest control.
Read that again. Just
it would criminalize hunting, livestock slaughter, and pest control. I just hunting, breeding livestock, even pest control would be all but illegal under a ballot initiative backed by Oregon animal rights activists and opposed, obviously, by licensed Oregon farmers. The proposal, Initiative Petition 13, would lift virtually all exemptions to state laws related to animal abuse, neglect, and sexual assault. The vast majority would ban common farming practices, from artificial insemination used in targeted breeding and killing live animals for meat. But brace yourself, because farm animals could only be raised for rodeos, milk, or fur, and could be spayed, neutered, and castrated.
So you can't raise the animal to feed your family, but you can raise the animal to destroy it for its fur.
And the fur industry is like the most wasteful animal-related industry on planet Earth.
Oh my god!
The most. I mean, it is basically. The animals are only being raised for their skin, so they do not care about the rest of that animal at all.
Somewhere, Oregon, Cruella de Vil is just happy as fuck.
And the thing that blows my mind too is like, what this tells me is that these people who propose this are obviously in Portland.
Oh yeah.
And they have no idea, absolutely no concept of how food actually makes it onto their plate. No idea whatsoever. They have never seen a farm. They have never seen how any of this works, ever. The closest they've ever come to the source of their food is talking to some vendor named Steve, who's probably a wook at the farmer's market. That's as close as they've ever gotten. They've never actually seen how their food actually gets to their plates. Ever. Because if they did, they would understand that this is the most ridiculous thing imaginable.
So you know what it is? Is they're looping everyone under this umbrella of commercialized agriculture, right? Commercialized farming. If you ever like, if you Google or if you look up photos or video of commercialized farming or commercialized livestock, you're gonna see the worst videos ever imaginable. Right, and that's like 2% of the commercialized farms in reality.
Oh yeah, it's a very limited amount, and even the commercialized farms, if they find out that some of these people are doing the things they're doing to these animals, they'll fire them immediately.
Yep. But it's I mean, it's Oregon, man. Oregon has thousands and thousands and thousands of hobby farms. Yep. Right, there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people with backyard chickens. Both for meat and for eggs. that own cow shares and pig shares, and
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
I mean, and not only that, it would further restrict hunting, fishing, trapping, and intentional injury of an animal that would bring undue suffering, which is ridiculous because that is super subjective and absolutely absurd. Research labs would be prohibited from experimenting on non-human mammals, birds, fish, reptiles, and amphibians, which would also mean that any research into why certain animals have certain problems and everything else would all be gone. All of the activities listed would carry criminal penalties. If you raise an animal to slaughter it for meat, you can face criminal penalties under this if it were to pass.
See, what you need to do is you take the cow, right, and you raise it, and then you kill it, but you strip its fur and you make the fur into leather. It's fine. But if you put the meat in the freezer, it's a criminal penalty.
Yeah.
See, let's go back to this other one, the intentional injury of an animal that would bring undue suffering. Does that eliminate euthanasia? Euthanizing animals?
Pretty much, yeah.
So, like, if your cat is suffering from an injury or from a cancer or from a virus, like my friend's cat who caught a coronavirus, which is common among cats,
Mm-hmm.
they would not be able to euthanize the cat because it would cause undue suffering.
Yeah, same with the see, that's the thing though, is no, because they'd argue that that's being humane. So you're allowed to kill it at that point, but trying to keep it alive would become illegal because that would cause undue suffering. I mean, this is how PETA works, right? PETA euthanizes. PETA run animal shelters kill more animals every year than all other animal shelters combined.
Something like 89% of the animals they bring in are euthanized or something like that.
Yeah, and 100% of the pit bulls, any pit bull comes into a PETA shelter, they kill it immediately.
Yeah,
just immediately.
Yeah, I have choice words on that one.
And it doesn't even actually have to be a pit. It just has to look like a pit. So it could be a Cane Corso. It could be a Mastiff. It's anything that has a blocky head and beefy shoulders immediately gets euthanized in PETA. PETA run shelters. These are the kinds of people who run it. And then the guy who proposed it, who's obviously a Portland, shocker, animal rights activist.
Portland animal rights activist
claims that, well, the farming industry would just adjust.
Yeah, the state's $5.7 billion farming industry would adjust to the new laws accordingly.
Yeah, with no evidence whatsoever, no explanation.
There is no way to adjust when you literally prohibit an industry. You can't adjust to that.
Keep in mind, this is a law proposed by a bunch of people who have no idea how farms actually work. They have no idea how you raise animals or anything else. And they're the same people who would bitch at the top of their lungs as soon as their food prices increase, because the farming industry in Oregon at that point has died, which means all of their food is getting imported. So they're starting to see closer to Alaskan food prices.
There you go. Small family businesses make up 96.7% of Oregon's agricultural sector.
Yeah, and the thing is too, is like banning artificial insemination. Do you know why most farmers use artificial insemination? They use it because it's safer for the animals. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're aware of how big a cow is, but over a ton. Yes. And when you have one animal that's over a ton trying to jump onto the back of another animal that is over a ton and use a penis that has a bone in it on them, injuries happen to both animals frequently. So to protect all of the animals involved in their best interest, artificial insemination is used instead. Mm-hmm. But that's banned now, so now we just got to let all the animals get hurt. there are some species of domesticated animal that will actually, like, they cannot breed normally because they will almost always hurt themselves.
Yeah. So, like some big ugly bulls.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain species of cow, there's certain species of goat, there are certain birds, things that can't reproduce normally. They just can't. And
So,
I mean, this is one step above, like above saying, well, but we got to protect the sheep because all this wool. I mean, it's just slaughtering all these sheep. I have heard that from people. I have actually heard people talk about how horrible it is with this wool that all these sheep had to die.
I've actually had people tell me that eating chicken eggs is killing baby chickens.
You feel like they
That's
need to go back to high school and go through sex ed again to understand
that's not what a chicken egg is.
any more
You
than what a
can't
human egg is.
you can't have baby chickens without a rooster. Yes, you can still have eggs without a rooster.
Yeah, chickens are so dedicated to laying eggs that if they
Period.
don't,
You're eating fucking chicken administrations.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
put it out there.
if chickens are so dedicated to making eggs that if they don't have enough calcium in their diet, they'll actually start leaching calcium from their own bones to be able to produce eggs. Like these things will just keep churning out eggs, churning out eggs, churning out eggs, churning out eggs. That's all they do. But sheep, if anyone's unaware and actually thinks that you have to skin a sheep to get wool, no, the wool is the sheep's hair. You give them a haircut in order to get the wool.
The breed has been domesticated to the point to produce wool, to produce more wool. So not shearing a sheep is actually harmful
It's a death sentence.
to most domestic sheep.
Yeah, it's a straight up death sentence. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of a sheep that like has gotten out and
There was
not been
an
sheared.
article not long ago about one in New Zealand that had escaped from a farm. It was on its own for like 2 years or whatever. And when they finally caught it, it had like 60 pounds of wool on it or something like that. And it had so much wool that it couldn't see, like, because the wool was covering its eyes, and that actually had respiratory issues because of the weight of the wool.
Yep. And it's the fact that it even lived 2 years is pretty surprising. Usually 6 months is about what they can survive, and then they die.
New Zealand doesn't have a whole lot of predators, so.
Well, I mean, it's not even predators. They get all of that wool starts getting really, really heavy, and it starts getting in mud, and it drags them down, and then they just lay there and die. They can't get back up. Sheep are very stupid, and they also just keep growing wool, keep growing wool, keep growing wool, keep growing wool. If you do not shear them, they will die.
Yes.
And yeah, you still have these idiots.
Yep. As an Irishman, you would know about that because Ireland has a whole lot of sheep.
A lot of sheep. And also every single field with sheep in it will inevitably, randomly, if you drive across the country in Ireland, if anybody ever goes, you will see this now and you will laugh hysterically because you will realize I'm right. Randomly, every single time, there's a guy and he always looks exactly the same. He's always dressed the same. He's probably about in his mid to late 60s. Every single time, standing in the corner of the field with a sheepdog next to him, waving at you. How you doing? And just you see it, and then you'll turn the corner, and the exact same guy will be in another field waving at you again. It's the weirdest. They're everywhere. It's the strangest damn thing, but it's true. And if you've been to Ireland, you know what I'm talking about.
We have that here on Highway 70 between Marysville and Oregon, with fruit stands.
It's like the same guy.
Because that's all agriculture. It's all agriculture, and there's probably it's like I want to say it's like 35 miles or something like that, but there has to be 7 or 8 fruit stands, farmer stands, on that stretch of road, and they're all the same red, and they all have the same big painted strawberries on the side, and they all have the big signs on the side of the road, turn out ahead, and they all sell the exact same fucking thing.
You're like, wait a minute, didn't I just see you?
And they're all run by Sikhs. And they're all named like Aunt Bay's farm stand. It's
Do
just,
you have an Aunt Bee? Do you? I don't feel like you do.
yep.
I mean, he might, for all I know, but
It's highly
uh,
possible.
the other thing that gets brought up in the article is like vole removal and beaver removal, and
Pest species.
basically,
Pest species. Yes.
yeah, taking care of pest species, getting them away from your farms is essentially illegal under this. And it makes me wonder if all these vegans, who inevitably are the ones who put this bill forward, understand what it takes to raise their vegetables.
No, they don't.
They don't, because they're suddenly their vegetables are going to skyrocket in price because the supply is going to go way, way down because half of everybody's crops are getting eaten by animals.
Or
And they're
flooded
going to
out.
whine and
Or
complain.
all that rich farmland's getting flooded out by the beaver dams.
Yeah. And they're going to whine and complain about the fact that they're now all of their stupid Brussels sprouts or whatever the crap it is vegans eat has gone up in price. And
I feel like vegans should eat vegans. It just sounds like that's the way it should be.
well, if you think about it, if you are what you eat, then cannibals are the only true humans.
True.
But I mean, like these, they don't understand. There's no connection in their brains between the food that they're buying in markets and things and that they're eating and what it took
What it
out on a
takes to get there.
farm,
Yeah.
yeah, to make that food happen. And that's actually one of the things like Clarkson's Farm on Netflix, the Jeremy Clarkson of Grand Tour and formerly the Top Gear UK. His farm that he bought back in like 2006 or something. He bought, or 2016 maybe, but he bought a farm. It's like 1,200 acres. It's a huge farm for
That's
even for the
nice.
Cotswolds. And he had somebody who used to farm it, and then they retired. And so he decided, well, rather than hiring somebody else, or taking a contract from somebody else to farm it again, why don't I just farm it myself? And it doesn't go well,
Well,
but
that's one of those. You're gonna learn today, boy.
yeah. Oh yeah, and poor Caleb. Oh, poor Caleb. Constantly like, did I not just tell you not to specifically don't do the thing that you just did? Did I not just tell you not to do that and explain to you why that was a bad idea? But what's so great about why it's gotten so much praise from farmers internationally is that it shows just how much goes into farming, how hard it is, how expensive it is, how easy it is to lose everything with one bad season.
Oh yeah.
Like it really, really shows just how hard farming is. And everybody loves it. And I think that people like this need to go and watch that a little bit so that they maybe understand just a little bit of how hard it is to farm and how much you
Yep.
need to get rid of these pest species to make anything. Because even with an enormous amount of government subsidies and everything else that he gets at the end of the year, he makes like 60 pounds. Like he's up like 60 pounds over the course of the entire year.
You want to move
So
on to the farm article real quick?
we can move on to the farmer article.
Yeah, we got some time. This is out of Bird in Hand, Pennsylvania. And it's feds, Lancaster County farmer violating food safety laws. Amos Miller has been loudly fighting a years-long battle against the federal government over food safety inspection laws. Quote, my goal is to have my children stay on the farm. I'm willing to take the stand and make sure that we are sure to preserve our culture. Miller raises a variety of animals, including cows, chickens, sheep, and camels, selling the unprocessed meat and dairy products to about 2,000 members of a private association of food buyers. The root of the conflict is Miller's lack of a license to slaughter those animals and continued sale of them without legal safety inspections.
You notice people keep buying everything from him, so we can probably guess it
And
ain't making anybody sick.
Yeah, there's no lawsuits against him making anybody sick.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah. The Department of Justice has filed several lawsuits against Miller and the farm, including a 2019 suit that ultimately won an injunction to cease violating food safety laws. The latest injunction came June 7 when U.S. District Judge Edward G. Smith Jr. ordered Miller to appear in court on June 16th. Miller will have to show cause of why he should not be held in contempt of court. Falling under the umbrella of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Food and Safety Inspection Services is tasked with ensuring meat and poultry sold commercially is safe, wholesome, and correctly labeled and packaged.
Well, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you actually look into it, what they actually do is mainly just make sure it's labeled correctly.
Yeah. Prosecutors accused Miller of showing a, quote, singular historic willingness to flout democratically elected food safety laws of general applicability.
Hell yeah.
I have never seen on any ballot a food safety law being voted on.
Yeah, democratically enacted federal food safety law seems like a contradiction in terms.
There's so much wrong there.
Like, I don't think anyone voted for those food safety laws outside of Congress, actually.
Yeah. Probably Congress probably didn't even vote on them.
Well, yeah, I mean, realistically,
it's edicts handed down by the USDA.
Yeah.
Miller stopped taking his meat to a federally inspected slaughterhouse in May, partially because it washes meat in antibacterial citric acid, according to court documents. Miller claims the regulations and inspection process inherently leads to unhealthier foods. Quote, if you put too much preservatives on the food, the body can't break it down where you can get the health benefit of it. That's why all these illnesses are coming out. That's according to Miller. Miller's Organic Farms website says its practices are organic, non-GMO, chemical-free, hormone-free, and antibacterial or antibiotic-free. Quote, customers use it as medicine. It's very healing to the body because it's raw.
I don't know about that, but
that's not necessarily wrong. Miller has gained a following of supporters who vouch for his products. Quote, they're good people. Their place is very clean and the product is excellent, says Despina Snyder, a customer from Manheim Township. Miller said the animals are naturally healthier than conventional livestock. Quote, if you have them out in the sunshine, if you have them relaxed, you keep them away from a filthy environment, the good bacteria actually overrides the bad bacteria, which we have been talking about for the past 16 months with viruses.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, too, is that part is actually pretty correct. I mean, the bacteria, not necessarily, but that they are healthier overall animals. If you watch, like, even vet shows where vets go to farms all the time, like relaxed animals with room to move and they have sun and, and they're able to kind of be in a fairly natural environment, are much happier, much healthier. They stay healthier. They get fewer weird diseases. In fact, a lot of diseases come from artificial feed, mad cow. They come from being too close together. They come from, being locked up too much, not being able to move. So it does undo a lot of those health issues that lately have started to come about for farm animals by simply letting them be raised the way that humanity has raised them for thousands of years.
So, if found in contempt of court, the government could seize 2,100 pounds of meat and fine Miller $5,000 per pound. So that's $250,000.
Yeah, and they mentioned that, like, in 2015, they found listeria in raw milk, and they claimed through genetic testing that the strain of listeria was genetically similar to the strain
not
that
the same.
sickened people.
Not the same. But
yeah, genetically similar. So they said that it was his farm was the likely source. 6 years ago of some tainted milk.
Yeah.
When was
not that it was the same strain.
Yeah, it was similar. And and all I can think is, gosh, at least it's only this guy's raw milk that gives people listeria. I mean, I'm going to sit here and eat my iceberg lettuce. And thank God that I'm not drinking raw milk, or else I might get listeria. Like, I'm going to eat my spinach and my lettuce. Are you kidding me? Do you know how much listeria outbreaks are created because of vegetables?
Yep. And then updated article from 3 days ago says Lancaster County farmer fined $250,000 for repeated food safety violations. Judge found Emmett contempt of court for violating 2020 consent decree and ordered him to pay $250,000 in fines plus an additional $14,436 to cover enforcement costs. If he doesn't pay it in 30 days, they're going to take the farm.
Which obviously he's not going to be able to do. And also, 14,000. Wait, he has to pay them to oppress him? I mean, like, what kind of bullshit is that?
Yes. 30 days to pay the fine or could face further fines and possible jail time. So I guess they're not taking the farm, but fucking ridiculous in the first place. If he was doing if he was producing a bad product that was dangerous, that was making people sick, people would stop fucking buying from him.
Yeah, I mean, like, and again, like with the listeria thing, two people got sick, one of them died. Okay,
which
6
sucks.
years ago. That's terrible. But even if it was his milk, he has a better record than iceberg lettuce and spinach over the course of the same 6 years.
Yes.
FDA inspected iceberg lettuce and spinach has a worse record of making people sick than his milk.
Yes.
And you want to sit there and tell me that, but it's dangerous because it's not inspected. Well, apparently it's dangerous if it is inspected. So what the fuck's the difference?
The condo that collapsed in Florida was inspected also, guys.
Yeah.
And that killed, what, 96 people or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it had just been inspected, like, fairly recently, too.
So,
yeah, this is... And it's this ongoing thing with free market capitalists bringing up, you know, if people are making people sick, if they're doing... Because obviously people don't want to be sick, which means they're delivering a product people don't want. If they deliver a product people don't want to a market, no one buys it, they go out of business. That's how it works in a free market. You don't need to.
It's like that really stupid joke that it's a joke or a meme that the conservatives use all the time. It's Ron Paul, Ayn Rand, and Murray Rothbard walk into a bar and they all died because the alcohol was poisoned.
Except it was the federal government that poisoned alcohol.
Well, yeah, during Prohibition, but if that was the case, people would stop going to that bar.
Yeah, no one else would go into that bar.
And the bar would go out of business. Poisoned. It's the market is self-regulating.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
he's not holding a gun to anyone's head saying, "Eat this meat."
Yeah, I mean, like, hell, stuff like that goes back hundreds of years too. It's
not like he's putting a sign on the door, show me your raw meat card.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and on top of that, I mean, like I said, that goes back hundreds of years. I mean, even in Romeo and Juliet, when Shakespeare talks about how you look for a cook who licks his own fingers.
Yes.
Because if he licks his own fingers, you know that he's making good food. Because he also wants to taste it.
You don't go to bald barbers.
Yeah, you don't go to bald barbers. You don't go to skinny chefs. Yeah.
So, all right, let's get on this last one because god damn it, we could do a whole episode on this one. Yeah, I might have to back off on this one and let you read some of it because if not, I'm just gonna.
This poor guy.
Or a 9/11 somebody. Canterbury, New Hampshire. For almost 3 decades, 81-year-old David Linstone has lived in the woods of New Hampshire along the Merrimack River in a small cabin adorned with solar panels. He has grown his own food, cut his own firewood, and tended to his pets and chickens. But his off-grid existence has been challenged in court by a property owner who says he's squatting for all of those years. And to make Linstone's matters worse, his cabin was burned to the ground Wednesday afternoon in a blaze that is being investigated by local authorities.
I'm sure.
Linstone, or River Dave, as he is known by boaters and kayakers, was jailed July 15th on a civil contempt sanction. He was told he'd be released if he agreed to leave the cabin, but he has stayed put. Quote, "You came with your guns, you arrested me, brought me here, you've got all my possessions, you keep them," Linstone told a judge in a court appearance on Wednesday morning. Quote, "I'll sit here with your uniform on until I rot, sir."
That is fucking balls, man. Like, no, absolutely not.
Nope. I'm not admitting anything. I'm not leaving. I'm here against my will.
I mean, he's been there 27 years.
27 years. And okay, we'll get into that. Linstone is accused of squatting for 27 years in a cabin on private property in Canterbury. The wooden 2-level A-frame cabin had a small, cluttered kitchen with pots hanging from the ceiling, some appliances, and curtains on the windows. His porch had a footstool, which was a base made of stacked beer cans. He converted a wood stove into a beehive. He attached lights, a mirror, and a pulley for a clothesline to logs supporting the cabin. There were piles of firewood. Nearby, a gravel path leading to a vegetable garden, plots outlined by logs and some berry bushes. Linstone also gets water from a stream. Sounds fucking peaceful. In court, Merrimack County Superior Court Judge Andrew Schulman agreed that Linstone wasn't hurting anyone. He said that the law was clearly on the landowner's side. Quote, "You're doing your own thing in the live free or die state, so there's a lot of sympathy for you for that. But there's a lot of weight on the other side of the balance sheet, and not just about what the landowner wants to do with the land, but the weight I feel to uphold the judgment of the court and the rule of law."
First of all, that whenever a judge says, "Well, I agree with you, but I have to uphold the rule of law," he is ignoring checks and balances. The whole point of checks and balances allegedly is supposed to be so that if the law is bullshit, the judge can simply refuse to enforce it.
Mm-hmm.
And just ignore it. That's what's supposed to happen.
There's we'll get to a little bit more, and then I'll make my point on that one. But
yeah, that's, I mean, you remember when we were all in high school, right? Like when we learned civics and you learn like, oh, there's this checks and balances, and it's supposed to be, to keep the government honest. And so no one branch can get too much power. And part of that is supposed to be that the executive branch, which is in charge of enforcement, can simply choose to ignore a law that they don't agree with, which renders it irrelevant.
Yes.
And effectively non-existent. But instead, what happens is you hear cops, you hear judges, you hear federal agents all the time. Well, I don't like the law, but I have to enforce it.
And they'll also rule against firearms owners and tax obstructors. And Joseph Gideon, an avid kayaker who befriended Linstone about 20 years ago, has been working with other supporters to help him, including organizing a petition drive and collecting money to cover property taxes. I don't know why they're doing property taxes. Quote, "I'm devastated," she said when she learned about the fire. Dave's cabin burnt down a few hours after his hearing.
Yep.
Totally not suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, "He's just a really, really big, caring guy and just chooses to live off the grid. It really is about humanity. It really is about compassion, empathy. He's not hurting anyone." Gideon and other supporters came out to a town select board meeting on Monday. Board members said that the town currently has no standing in the property dispute. But even if there were a way to allow Linstone to stay, it would be an uphill battle. His home is in violation of local and state zoning and environmental regulations, and there's no access to the road.
He doesn't want access to the fucking road. That's the whole point.
Just fuck your fucking zoning regulations. Literally, take the page out of the book, wad that sumbitch up, and shove it up your ass. Fuck your zoning regulations.
That is so He's not hurting anyone. No one is being hurt. Even the property owner is.
The property owner did not know he was there.
Yeah, didn't even notice he was there, and therefore didn't care.
The property owner doesn't even live in the same state.
Yeah.
So he's not really a property owner. He's the title holder.
Yeah.
Which even through Hoppian, even through Hans Hermann Hoppe, he would not technically own this property in Ancapistan.
Yeah. Because he's never there. He has nothing to do with it.
Oh, and the property is in standing for logging. That's all it is. It's left alone so that trees can grow, so they can come through and fucking clear cut.
Yeah. Which they could do with him there.
Yes.
And just be like, hey, we're going to be clear cutting. Make sure that you don't get in the way. We'll go around you, but FYI. Yeah. And he would be like, well, I don't really want you to, but I guess it's your property. And then they do it. And then you know what? No one gets hurt. Everybody's fine. You move on. What the?
Yeah. The wood lot Lindstone called home was just a few miles away from Interstate 93, but it was hidden by trees. It's on 73 acres that has been used for timber harvest. The property has been owned by the same family since 1963, and there are no plans at this time to develop it, which means it's literally abandoned land.
Yeah, it's vacant. It's vacant land. I'm even a huge property rights guy. Huge property rights guy. If I bought the property, it's fucking mine. But even I'm like, but you're not actually doing anything with that. You're literally just leaving it abandoned.
Yeah, literally you're not. Literally all he is he holds a piece of paper that says that's his. Right? Yeah. There's no development on it. He doesn't even live in the same fucking state, right? Like, it's not like there's a hunting cabin there that he goes to in the winter. Like, any sort of actual use out of this land, I could argue that he has a claim to it. Right? I know I'm arguing Ancapistan and not reality. I'm living in Ancapistan in my head on this one, and I get that. I accept that. And I'm not wrong on this. I don't feel I'm wrong on this.
I mean, if you define property ownership free world property ownership as being, as having mixed the fruit of your labor with the land, basically, as having done something to make that land yours. That the current property owner hasn't done any of that, but Dave has.
Yeah.
I mean, morally, Dave owns that section of land that he's on because he mixed it with the sweat of his brow. He's the one who's been there.
Dave has actually stewarded the land.
Yeah. He's actually done something. And even if these guys showed up and wanted to clear cut those trees, I mean, he wouldn't be super happy about it. But how fucking hard would it be to just go around a little stand of trees right around his cabin and just leave a few trees standing?
I mean, the property owners have no plans to do that at all. They have no plans to develop the land or to cut the trees right now, right? So Dave isn't an issue at this point. Like, in the future, under the legal law, that we exist under right now, they were to say, hey, we're going to come in, we're going to log this. Then at that point in time, you can have a conversation with Dave, and at that point in time, there could be a legal issue, right? But as it stands right now, with no plans to do anything for it, they're just fucking with Dave.
Yeah, they're just messing with him for the sake of messing with him, which is a load of crap. And I mean, not even just that, but I mean, it's like, again, it's not even like he's like, because it'd be one thing if like he was out there and he was.
This is one of those things that, like, when we argue with liberals and conservatives all the time on Twitter or Facebook, whatever. Well, if you don't like it, just go live in the woods. Dave said okay, and he went and lived in the woods.
Yeah, now look at what's happening to him.
Now he's in a fucking cage.
He's in a cage and his home's burnt to the ground.
Oh my goodness.
And who knows what happened to his pets? Who knows what's happening to all of his livestock that's out there?
Let's see. Property owner Leonard Giles. Let's see. Lindstone claimed that years ago the owner gave him word but nothing in writing, allowing him to live there. But in the eyes of the current owner, he's a squatter and needs to go. Property owner Leonard. I mean, there's people sleeping on the sidewalks in LA and all over this country. And that's okay. But a guy that lives in the woods and doesn't bother anyone and is left alone, that's a no. Property owner Leonard Giles, 86, of South Burlington, Vermont, which, again, he's not even in the same fucking state, didn't even know Linston was there until the town administrator found out in 2015 and told him, expressing concern, quote, with regard to the solid and septic waste disposal and the potential zoning violations created by the structure.
Potential zoning violations. Fuck you. And as far as the solid and septic waste disposal, obviously he's figured that out because he lives there and needed to.
29 years.
Yeah, like he's lived there for so fucking. Obviously, he's figured that out.
Gonna bitch and moan about the sewage, right? But shit is disposable or is biodegradable.
Mm-hmm.
But the PVC pipes and the cast iron pipes that they use for like sewer systems are not. And in order to install that, they would have to cut through the roots of all these trees to install that. And then they would have to build a road to install that on. So again, they're removing trees and removing brush and cutting through more roots and destroying the environment to put in a septic system. So it's yeah.
And how many years did humanity live without all these pipes, without all these septic systems, figuring out how to stay healthy enough to continue to live and not poison their groundwater or anything else and still get rid of the waste?
My dad tells a story. In the late 1970s, there was a big family gathering at the land back in West Virginia. There's an actual place called Booth Mountain in West Virginia. They had a big family gathering to celebrate plumbing in the main house. This is the late 70s. I want to say my dad said 77, I think. So 77, 78. So 50 years, less than 50 years.
So the vast majority of humanity, and there's still huge places in the world where they have to figure out human waste disposal without, the benefit of septic tanks and all this fancy shit. And they manage to figure it out most of the time. Obviously not always, but they manage to figure it out for the most part because people do survive. Not everyone dies. They don't poison everything around them. Like, they're capable of doing that. Humanity has been capable of doing that for 10,000 years.
Yeah. Linstone, a bearded, small-framed, spiritly man, has resisted efforts to leave since a judge issued an order for him to vacate in 2017. Following that, both sides had attempted to reach some sort of agreement for him, but were unsuccessful, according to court documents. The judge suggested Wednesday that Giles and the town, Giles is the title holder on the land, and town officials work with a mediator, but Giles' lawyer said the logistics would be too daunting. The vast bulk of Linstone's personal items had been removed from the cabin before the fire, Giles' attorney, Lisa Snow Wade, said Wednesday night. Several outbuildings remained, and no animals were found either running around or deceased. That's according to Canterbury Fire Chief Michael Gamchee. Linstone, who doesn't have an attorney, insisted that his cabin is a hunting and fishing camp, not a home. He also argued that Giles doesn't own the property, but is being pressured by the town. Quote, he's a heck of a nice old man. I've talked to him a few times. This is not his fault. This is not my fault, he said at the hearing. It's lying, cheating, corrupt judges like you who are stepping on little people like me. But I'm telling you, sir, you step on me, I'm going to bite your ankle. I love this guy.
Yeah, and he's, and the sad thing is he's not the first guy who has encountered this either, because there was a few years ago when there was that guy who was like living as kind of like a mountain man who was arrested for fishing without a license and stuff.
There was a guy in Idaho a few years ago that was for that. There was a guy up in the Redwoods up in Humboldt County here in California that was arrested for that. There was there's a story of a couple in Superstition Mountains that were living off the grid until a few years ago. Um, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
what it really amounts to is it's not about, in this instance, right?
oh
And
no
you
no
can
no no.
argue
See
property rights back and forth
what it comes down to is that these people were fucked with by the government, quote, for their safety.
Yeah. I mean, it's not about property rights. Like, you can argue property rights, whatever, but that's a spook in this case. That isn't the real issue at all. What's the real issue here is that he was off the grid. He was ungovernable.
Yes.
Because he didn't need the outside world, and that itself is an inherent threat to their power.
Mm-hmm.
They can have that.
No, I mean, look what they did to Popcorn Sutton. I mean, they fucked with him and fucked with him and fucked with him, literally until his death.
Until Popcorn said, "Fuck you."
Yep. I think that's actually on his tombstone.
Yeah, Popcorn said, "Fuck you." Yeah, he actually. I went to high school with his niece.
Oh, I mean, this.
And his niece Jenny, and yeah, I remember when all that was going on and stuff, and I kind of talked to her about it, and she was just like, "Oh, he's never gonna let them put him in a cage."
Nope.
And she said that like a day before.
Yep.
He went into his still and set it on fire, and then just sat in it while it burned around him. But yeah, she's like, he's never gonna let them put him in a cage.
Yep. Before the fire, the one that destroyed his cabin a few hours after the hearing, Lindstone could be released if one of three things happened. He agreed to leave, which he wasn't going to do. The cabin was demolished by Giles, the title holder, or 30 days had passed since he was jailed. So one of those things did happen. Gamgee, this is the fire chief, said the cabin, quote, had mostly collapsed upon itself as firefighters arrived in an off-road utility vehicle 2 miles into the woods. So they could get a vehicle actually in there.
Yeah.
So it's not without a road. It's not connected.
Yeah, it's just there's no actual road. There's a path probably, but there's no actual road.
Lindstone hasn't had any contact with law enforcement prior to this. So 29 years in the woods, no contact with law enforcement prior to this.
27.
27.
Wait, yeah. 27 years, no contact. I mean, he hasn't bothered anyone.
Yeah, over the years, Lindstone, a U.S. Air Force veteran, so we can drag conservatives in on this, and a father of 4 who has made money as a woodsman, has been known to invite kayakers and boaters into his home, sharing stories about his life in the wild.
That would be so fucking cool, man.
Right?
That would be so cool to be kayaking or hiking out in the middle of the woods, and this little dude just living in this little cabin's like, come on in, have some coffee, and like just starts telling you about his life off the grid. That would be so neat.
Lindstone's decision to live in the woods is, quote, exactly the lifestyle he wants, says his brother Vincent Lindstone, 77, of Lafayette, Georgia. Quote, what they're doing to him isn't right for anybody, whether he's my brother or anybody's brother. He's 81 years old. Leave him alone. Vincent Lindstone said he lost touch with his brother through the years, but described how the two of them and a cousin enjoyed spending time in the outdoors. They grew up in Wilton, Maine. Quote, we lived in the woods. We camped, fished, hunting. The three of us did everything together for a lot of years. No. Just leave this guy the fuck alone.
Yeah, I mean, and at this point now, because the cabin's burned, I mean, what do you even do for this guy now? Like,
I would personally, I would love to see a landowner in the area reach out and be like, hey, I have this land here. You're welcome to use it. I'll help you build a cabin.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see that. That would be fantastic. When I was homeless in Georgia, Georgia, North Carolina, I mean, overlapped a bit, but when I was homeless there after I got back and everything, because I realize it shocks people, but returning vets wind up homeless a lot.
Yeah.
When I was homeless, I wound up getting invited to this like homeless camp, and it was like all these like little cabin things set up like along this mountain stream. It was really cool. It was like this little like hobo village, like it was cool. And I'm like, oh, cool. And they're like, yeah, you can just set up, wherever and find a spot and join us. Like, it'll be cool. We all kind of help each other out. And I was like, well, what about who owns this property? Like, is this like, are we getting kicked off of this? Like, oh no, that's the best part. The guy who owns the property, that's his cabin up there. He also went and just decided, and I talked to him. Super cool. So apparently he had been like a .com boom, like millionaire. And once he like IPO and everything else and made all his money, he was like, you know what? Fuck society. I don't actually want to do this anymore. And like just bought a bunch of land up in the mountains. And
I got Eddie Vedder in my head right now from the End of the Wild soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
society, you're a crazy breed.
Yeah,
hope you're not lonely without me.
Yeah, and he just was like, fuck this, I don't want to do this anymore. So he just like packed up, bought like 300 acres up in the mountains, and just like plopped it off the grid cabin up there, like in like 94, 95 or something, and then just plopped a cabin there and was like, screw it, I'm just gonna live out here.
Yep, that's the
and
dream.
And he just started living out there, and it's his property, so screw it. And then some homeless guy like set up camp just down the way from him, and he like went down and talked to him, and the guy was like, well, I mean, if you want me to move on, I mean, I can. And the guy was like, no, man, I don't care. Like, you can set up there. I'm not using that section of land anyway. I don't care. Just be clean, and respectful of the land and whatever. And that's all I ask. And so he set up, and then pretty soon another guy set up, and another guy set up, and another guy set up. And so in the middle of the mountains, the only way you can get up there is hiking. Like, there's no roads. You gotta hike in and hike out, or take a big off-road truck in or out. And
not many homeless have those.
Yeah, and there's like 10 or 12 like either like tents or like little lean-tos or cabins along this little stretch of river, and it's just like this little independent town, and all these people just like live there and cooperate. And like everybody would take turns having fires at their place at night, and everybody would come over, and we'd all share food and hang out and talk. And like,
that's on that mutualism, capitalist leaning mutualism thing that Magnus talks about. That I'm a big fan of the mutual assistance groups.
Yeah, and it was, I can honestly say, like, it was one of the coolest like, that convinced me, if I was ever that rich, if I was ever rich enough to just buy a chunk of land, somewhere where we had the water source and everything, and just be like, hey, if you want to come live here, like, cool, man. Just like, all I ask is that you be respectful of everything and everybody else, and just, come live free. Like, that was so cool. Like, it was, technically I was homeless, but only by modern definition.
Well, to be fair, you were houseless.
Yeah, you
weren't really homeless, Quote, home is where the heart is, but if you felt good there, if you felt comfortable there, that was home.
Yeah. And I wasn't even, actually homeless, because I actually built
every Englishman's home is his castle.
But it's funny, because I even did build a little home. Like, I built a little, they helped me, gather old like pallets and stuff and put together a little home thing. And like, everybody, like, nobody was truly homeless at that point. And 90% of the guys that were out there were combat vets. Most of them were like Vietnam. I was a couple from Desert Storm. I wasn't even the only guy that had been in the global war on terror, and all of us. Yeah, and all of us were fighting our own demons. We all have our own problems that led to us being homeless. But it's this weird little community that everybody could just hang out and like talk and tell stories that you're not ever going to tell anybody else. And it was a really cool experience. Like, it was super therapeutic. And like, eventually I got to this point where I got a job offer finally, and I wound up moving into a permanent place and stuff. But it was, like that kind of a thing. Who was being hurt by that? Nobody. But if the local town ever found out that was out there, they'd show up and they demolish everything. They demand that everybody had to go because nothing was up to code. Yeah, exactly. Zoning
because
and code enforcement and
only the government should dictate what you can do on your own land.
yeah. Yeah, and every one of us had permission from the guy because again, he was right up the hill. He was like right there. You just go talk to him. We'd pop over there. He'd pop over to our places all the time. Like, and he was indistinguishable from the rest of us. Like, we all had big beards and everything, and he was indistinguishable from the rest of us. He was rich. He had like, because constantly he'd be like, "Oh, whatever," like, somebody's stuff, something would break, and he'd be like, "Oh, well, I'll get you a new one," and he'd just run out and get it because he still had millions of dollars. Like, he was still invested all his money. He just didn't want anything to do with society.
Which
So
I can't blame him for that at all.
it was fucking amazing. Like, he was the coolest guy ever. He's like, "Yeah, I have a net worth of like $1.9 million, but at this point, because I spent most of the rest of it on like buying this land and maintaining it stuff, but I have investments, and it's like I think he said he makes capital gains. He makes like 300 grand a year,
Which is more than enough.
yeah, and he's like, and I just live out here. He's like, because this is where I want to be. This is all I want to do. Like, this is my relaxing thing.
So, on that note, let's get out of here. Let's throw some plugs so you can finish packing, and you can get out into the woods.
Yeah, head into the woods myself and go live like I'm homeless again. Buy Derica's book.
So fucking jealous.
It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice. I'll take lots of pictures and just keep like throwing them on Twitter and stuff and being like, haha, you wish you're here.
Tagging me in them. Thanks,
yeah.
asshole.
It's gonna be beautiful. It's the kind of the lake region of Wisconsin too, so it's up near the boundary waters and all that. So it's gonna be
I hope a mosquito bites you on your testicles.
Yeah, it's like a 20 minute drive from Lake Superior, and it's this particular lake is one of the muskie capital of the world lakes. So it's full of muskies. There's lots of loons. Oh, it's so nice.
Yep. All right,
so Derica's book. Think for yourself. Buy her crochet pattern. The Hungry Caterpillar. Check out thebeardstruggle.com. Use code InkedAnarchist15. Get 15% off. A couple other websites for streetwear, sunglasses, watches, all sorts of other stuff. That's all going to be in the description. You can use code InkedAnarchist25 on those. Check out Poppin's Patches. He makes lots of cool patches, and we're a fan of his. He just dropped a couple new ones.
The tricorn hat.
Yes.
The tactical tricorn hat with patch panel on it. And then he also just dropped one of the new Futurama Star Wars crossover ones.
Yeah, it's got Nibbler as Baby Yoda, which is Baby Yoda, cool.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That was pretty good. Yeah, and his what was the other one? It was because that was one of two. I forget what the other one was offhand, but
the Leave Me Alone one.
Yeah. And like, yeah, he's pretty good. That's the Boogaloo Shark. That's where I got that one from, and a couple of my other patches. So all the patches I sent out to people for free, that's where those came from. Support them, check them out. Do you have anything else? What else?
I want to throw out Bad Moon Hemp. I think it's oh god, what was the link? Damn it! Now I have to look up the link. But it was our friend Crystal, who I don't know if you. Yeah.
badmoonhemp.wordpress.com.
Yes, badmoonhemp.wordpress.com. Crystal is now taking orders. She makes some of the best soaps and beard oils. Her beard oils are fantastic, and they're all homemade by her, and she can make them specifically to whatever smell you want. She has all that stuff, and she's just a fantastic chick, man. Single mom, three daughters. Come on now, gotta help her out.
Yep, and that beard oil, man, I tell you what, like, it was permanently transformative to my beard. Permanently transformative. It was amazing, absolutely revolutionary using it. So it's definitely worth a check out. I'm going to be ordering more of the cowboy scent because I loved the cowboy scent, and I need more of that in my life again because it was fantastic.
So yes, we'll drop that link in the description also. Yeah, as we stumble out of here, you got anything else?
RTA Magazine. I always plug RTA Magazine, Road to Autonomy. Check out RTA. I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Anything else?
Yeah, this won't be up on. This probably won't be up on Rumble because Chris wasn't here because Chris had his knee surgery the other day.
Yeah, he's the pain medication is not.
He was loopy.
Yeah, he was doing pretty good. So he wasn't here, but I took the time out of my packing and everything to go head off to the woods for a week and a half.
So, yep, we're gonna put this up. I'm gonna put this up tonight, so this will be out tonight instead of Sunday. And go listen to our last episode. My fucking God, that had to be one of the best episodes we've ever done.
It was fantastic. It's tons of history. You get to meet the Boog movement for real.
And Trashman. Well, first off, Magnus saying it was a fun episode. I fangirled a little bit, and then Trashman saying that he greatly enjoyed it and he loves our format, and I just went, ha!
It was super cool. I knew it was going to be awesome inviting those guys on, and I definitely, if you haven't gone to listen to it, you need to go listen to it. It is a fantastic episode. We cover the Battle of Athens, lots of history there,
and compare it to current times in some ways.
Yep. Yeah, and it's really good. You get to and again, I mean, it was an opportunity which was really exciting to have people kind of meet the Boog movement other than us that they meet regularly, you know, if they listen to us, meet the rest, you know, the other kind of influences in the Boog movement and hear them describe themselves and what they stand for and stuff, which is directly in conflict with what the media just keeps pushing.
Yep. None of them are white nationalists. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah. Not one of them, even remotely.
On that note, again, for the third time, I think I said that.
Yeah. On that bombshell, it's time to end.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Long story short, we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.